I believed in a deeper way of designing spaces. And so I took a big kind of time to reflect on what I was bringing to the table as a designer and what I really wanted to bring to the table as a spiritual coach. And I merged them together and decided to help women create sacred spaces instead of just high-end spaces.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And we are continuing our segment on the coaches that don't suck. I'm joined today by Paula Agudelo, and I am so excited that she's here because we met through a mutual coaching program. So she clearly believes in coaching, but she has a very unique expertise. Paula is the founder of Sacred Interiors, helping high-performing, soul-led women transform their homes into stunning sanctuaries. With over 14 years of experience in luxury residential design, Paula understands that a beautiful home is more than just looks. It's about creating a space that supports peace, joy, and inspiration. Paula, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I feel so honored to be a part of being a coach that does not suck. I think this is awesome.
Well, Paula, I've been watching you on the Instagram. You're quite consistent, with your presence on social. But why don't you just take 30 seconds and share with us exactly is it that you do, and what's your special sauce?
Yeah, so I'm an interior designer by trade and a Kundalini yoga teacher. And one of my biggest desires was to align all of these different passions that I had into one. And after working in the high-end luxury design world for a long time, I started realizing that I was spending so much money on beautiful spaces, or betterly said, my clients were spending a lot of money on gorgeous spaces, and they lacked so much soul. And when I had a really powerful moment in my life, which was giving birth at home, I realized that I believed in a deeper way of designing spaces. And so I took a big kind of time to reflect on what I was bringing to the table as a designer and what I really wanted to bring to the table as a spiritual coach. And I merged them together and decided to help women create sacred spaces instead of just high-end spaces.
Is so beautiful. You're really speaking to what drew me to personal growth and development in business in the first place, which is, you can have achievement, but if you're out of that alignment, then the achievement's going to feel hollow. And, I hadn't applied it to space, in design, but that makes so much sense that it would apply there too. So, Paula, I'm just really, really curious because, I definitely grew up more on the, you know, side of home design where you do it yourself, you go buy a piece somewhere, and then if you like it, you keep it. And, it was definitely less cohesive. And it's interesting because if you look at my house, my mother's house, my grandmother's house, there's like a lot that kind of gets passed from level to level and layer to layer. And I was just thinking about that. I'm like, wow, that's actually so symbolic of what we go through when we are going on an awakening and a journey of getting more conscious about like, well, why is this here? Why is this physical piece here? But, it's the same with our beliefs and our behaviors and otherwise. So
Yeah.
how can creating like a sacred home environment help coaches and entrepreneurs in particular be more aligned to their higher purpose?
Yeah, I love that question so much. So, in my world, something I speak of a lot is your environment is a reflection of your soul. It's a literal physical space that's reflecting a story of where you've been. If you think of all the things that we collect over traveling, over the years, gifts that we receive. So everything in your home is in conversation with you at all times, whether you're aware of it or not. There is a
Interesting.
story being told by the physical thing you're holding or seeing. There is also a story of where you currently are,
Hmm.
And where I love to hang out is how can we design a space that tells the story of where you want to go? So it almost becomes like this giant 3D vision board where you, as an entrepreneur, as someone who has a big vision, a lot of ambition, but it's also doing it from a very soul aligned space, have the opportunity to rehearse daily that
Hmm.
version of you. So for me, designing spaces for entrepreneurs, especially, is about embodiment, right? Like we
Mm.
hear all the time, like dress as that successful person, right? Or like
Hmm.
walk the talk. And so for me, it makes sense. Most of us are working from home. Most of the bigger things in our lives happen at home. This is where we nourish ourselves with our food. This is where we make love. This is where we raise our children. This is where we fall on the floor in the bathroom in complete anxiety and freak out when that happens. Like our home is the safe space where we get to show up exactly as we are. And so when we use it to kind of trigger the kind of opportunities that we want for our life and design it to rehearse that version of us that we're becoming, it's a powerhouse. It's a really powerful message that we're sending to our subconscious mind. It's like doing the affirmation work without having to do the affirmation work. It's like just by engaging your senses based on what you see, what you touch, creating an invitation for you to remind yourself of that higher version just because you're creating an environment for that. That's what Sacred Home is about.
That makes so much sense. You're taking me back to one of my very first coaching engagements where I was being coached as I was building my business. And one of the first lessons I really learned about accessing higher levels of wealth was just noticing the spaciousness of wealth versus the clutter that is more typical in like a lower income household, for example. And I was like, whoa, just like clearing enough space to be creative and it's really played a big role in my own journey of even sometimes leaving the home and going somewhere that is really beautifully appointed. It's so much like what is there and also what is not there that makes that space you feel the abundance, you feel the flow, and you feel all of that energy. So I am really curious, like what would you say? And I know this is like your main thing, so maybe just like top level tips, but what are some design tips that you would offer to someone who's maybe looking at wanting to transform their home office, for example, or their personal space into something that's really inspiring and promotes that focus and that productivity and their creativity?
Yeah. So what I do is a very simple step-by-step process, actually.
Hmm.
And I'm going to just share exactly what people need to do. So first of
Ooh,
all, I
love it.
love that in the clutter conversation because that is absolutely huge. In fact, one of my favorite surprises in being part of 6, 7, and 8 figure communities and masterminds and coaching, containers has been that common thread of all of these successful entrepreneurs speaking of having a clutter-free space. Like every time I hear them talk about it, I'm just so excited. Like even the concept of $1 million day. And that is exactly the first step, always, always, always in my world is clutter is creating physical, emotional, and energetic stagnation of sort. And so getting rid of things you don't want, you don't need, you don't use, and with a little caveat that you don't have to be a minimalist for this to work. Cause like some of us are maximalists and that's a thing and that's totally cool. Clutter is very personal, right? It
Mm.
means different things for different people. What looks like clutter to me might not be clutter to you. So step one, declutter your space. Do you love it? Do you use it? Do you need it? If not, it doesn't belong. The second step would be putting yourself in what we call command position, especially when it's your home office or anything that is related to your career or your business. So being in command means I can see the door where where people enter the room so that I'm aware of opportunities coming in and out of my life. When I'm giving my back to a door, I'm putting myself in an energetic kind of vulnerability. So that's always step two. It's going to be in
Okay.
command. If that's the only way you can arrange your furniture, then I suggest having a mirror of some sort in front of you where you can at least see who's coming behind you.
Got
So
it.
that's a power move. The third thing is usually for me bringing ritual of fresh flowers every week. That's one of the non-negotiables for all of my clients is can you gift yourself the gift of beauty and abundance that fresh flowers bring you? So placing them in a specific area of your office. I work with feng shui, so there's a wealth corner in your office. Usually, having flowers there is a great idea. But regardless, bringing that energy of beauty and prosperity into the space every week, that's a ritual. And then I would say the third thing is going to be usually meaningful items, something that reminds you of what you're creating. So it's again that vision board concept. Maybe it's a statue, maybe it's a picture, kind of like connecting your deepest why the heck you're waking up every morning to do this crazy thing we do every day. Can we have a visual for that that represents what you're working towards? And I'm a huge fan of lighting. I think lighting does something to the soul. So I always strive for 3 layers of lighting, whether it's natural light, so there's a window, some, overhead light like a chandelier, maybe there's a table lamp, maybe there's a floor lamp, but something that creates that environment that's welcoming and creates a vibe and a mood. Yeah, I think that's probably a good breakdown of where people can start right away.
Love this. I love this. And so, Paula, you have a lot of experience, with, you're leading the yoga and with coaching, and you mentioned you were in a lot of different containers. I am really curious, like, what do you think are 3 things that help a coach not to suck?
I love this. Okay, let's see. I think number one is consistency. Like you mentioned earlier, I like lit up where I was acknowledged by my consistency because that's not easy. And
It's
so I
not.
think that it's not. And so in my world, whenever I have invested in high ticket coaching myself, it's always because I know that person is being consistent in the way they show up. Like that's
Hmm.
instantly a green flag for me. So consistency, I think, makes you not suck. I think keeping it real and revealing your humanity, like being transparent with the struggles, being transparent with the challenges, not hyping things up and making them look Instagrammable. And that even applies to your home. Like your home's going to be a mess sometimes, and that's actually a sign that someone lives there. So that's great. I think that is a really important thing for me in terms of myself not sucking and then also hiring coaches that don't suck. And then number three, I think number three is going to be alignment in terms of there is something in the frequency that someone shares where you can see if they are walking their talk. There is a
Mm.
sense of magnetism. There is a sense of truth telling. There is a sense of trust that you are radiating to the world, whether you're aware of it or not. I'm personally very attuned to that. I want to say, I think it comes with practice, but there is just a knowing we all have as far as is this person walking their talk? And so for me, those are maybe high standards of defining whether a coach sucks or not, but that's where I go more than how much money they've made or even how many testimonials they have. I think those 3 things speak to me at a deeper level.
I love it. And it's very consistent. I've asked other guests the same question, and I'm hearing a huge theme across all of the segments of, hey, don't be a hypocrite. Work on your stuff, be authentic, be real. I think that is a big topic and a really important one. So Paula, if others wanted to follow you and see what you're up to next or get your support, like where do they find you?
Yeah, people can come to my website, which is sacredinteriors.design. In there, you're going to find all of the different offerings that I have. There's some really good freebies in there as well, including how to reset your home from a soulful space in 3 days. It's a great little training that everybody can have access to. I'm on Instagram at Sacred Interiors. And then Sacred Interiors also is my Facebook groups. Those are the three best places to find me.
Amazing. And we'll make sure to have those links in the show notes so that everybody can access those. And hey, listener, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, before you go, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. And Paula gave us some really gold tips. Like, I'm going shopping for a mirror. Like, that was so huge. So she worked really hard. Do us a favor and leave a 5-star review so that others can find this episode. And, that goes a really, really long way. And in fact, you probably know 3 people who would really benefit from hearing this short episode. It's like so actionable and can make such a huge difference to your productivity and your output and your impact. So go ahead and share this episode with 3 of your friends. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you again next time. Bye.
Bye.
So good.